Now that we finished Pesach, we could focus on the mitzvah, which we started the second night of Pesach. The mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. Shas, Starim are going on. Pesach, it's hard to think and focus on Sefiras HaOmer. Hits us. Suddenly we hear that sale on Sefiras HaOmer already. So there's so many mitzvahs happening at the same time. Well, now we can take a look and see. Look at the English for the same more be'iyun. The page number is, we're learning the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, Simin Taf Vav. Page Taf Vav. Taf Vav is the page number, and the Simin is Taf Pei Tes. The Simin is Taf Pei Tes. Taf Pei Tes. Yeah. So Taf Pei Tes Simin Seder Tfilas Lel Sheni Shal Pesach. The Seder of the davening of the second night of Pesach. The Sefiras HaOmer and Sefiras HaOmer. Oh boy, Lamed Sifim, there are 30 Sifim in this Sifim. Mitzvah Seiman HaTorah, She'yisper Kolachem Yisrael Shiva Shavuos Yamim, to count 7 weeks of days, Miyoim, from the day of Havas Korban HaOmer. Shenemer V'sfartel Chemachza Shabbos, Miyoim, Havi'achem Es Omer HaTnufa, Sheva Shabbos Etum Nistiyah. That's one pasuk. It's a pasuk in Emer, yeah? V'Omer, it says, in Compassions Ve'eh, Shiva Shavuos, Tisper Lach, v'goymer. V'dor shacham v'dor shenis psukim. Tisper Lach, Yachol bebezdin. I would think maybe the bezdin has to keep the count. It might be Yovel. Shesay from the bezdin Shabbat Shabbos Shanim a catch and Shnas Chamishim Yovel. We don't personally count every year. In the ending of the year, we say or at the beginning, we say this is the first year, the second year of the Yovel. No. It's not the Yachid, it's the Bezin. Tamaloimer says the pasuk v'svart and lechem lashon rabim. Hidei l'soifer l'chol echad echad. Everyone needs to make their own personal count. Ve'in atzibur she'yatzibur yichon nisper ba'ad kulam. And you can't say I'm staying home, and the tzibur will do it for me. The shliach tzibur. But more than that, even someone who's not a shliach tzibur, just a general shliach tzibur, I befeidish with my man and this person, please count for me. Vasoy shliach lekach. Eine yoytzich vasoy kishalei shama hasin v'chavedi. If you did not hear from him, you hear from him mishamei ka'ina. But you didn't hear from him, even he made a mashir. Meaning, it's a mitzvah shebegufoy. It's a mitzvah like kiddush. Could you make a shliach to make kiddush for you? You can make a shliach to give tzedakah for you, to take challah for you, put up a mezuzah for you. Certain mitzvahs you can have shlichus works. Over here we learn that shlichus doesn't help by the mitzvah. You can't have someone put on tefillin for you. Mitzvah shebegufay. You have to count. You have to hear the sfira. Avol mehu ba'atzmei shama asin pi chaveirei. In the skaven lots of the chavas v'shimiz v'gam chaveirei meshmin the skaven. Let's say yasei chavas min ha'torah. She'ashemeya. Someone will hear something. It says if he said it. In Torah, Shemeya is HaOmer. Shemeya HaOmer. So you have to hear from someone who's mechuyev in the mitzvah. You hear from a isha or katan saying svira. It's not going to help. You have to hear from someone who's mechuyev. So you had kavanah to be yoytze, and they had kavanah to be you. You're yoytze, like the shliach tzibur. He says it out loud. But one can be yoytze with him. However, yesh chol kanel, there are those that are cholik. When they say shetzarech shetehei svira l'cholecha ve'echam mamish shekol echod yisper ba'atzmei. Some say no. Every person literally needs to count. It's not enough that you hear from the shliach tzibur, hear from your friend. You have to say it befiv. Yesh lachos adveim lechatchila. Lechatchila, we should be concerned for the later opinion, not rely by hearing the chazan or your chaver. And you should say it yourself, not to be soymach on the shliach tzibur. Aval habracha, shmei v'shliach tzibur. That's all when it gave the sefira. When it gave the bracha, that you can lechatchila hear from the shliach tzibur. He knows how to mevarach himself. Let him make the bracha himself. 10 people are doing a mitzvah together. You can make a bracha for them all together. As soon as you hear the bracha, make the sefira right away. It should be over lasiyasan. The bracha is right before the mitzvah, so right away say the sefira is done right away. Now,
why we do each one at the moment? And you think, why would you think otherwise?
So let's stop for a second. Good question. Bichlal, what gives someone the koyach to moitzi? You have to do it yourself. How can that person do it for you? So there is a klal of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. We took upon ourselves arvos. Not only that we are going to keep Torah mitzvahs, but keep the mitzvahs, but we became guarantors for each other. We have an arvos meloshen arev. You are an arev for the other individual. You have to guarantee that he is going to do the mitzvah. And therefore, that's why we have a chiyuv. We see someone not doing something right or not doing what they should be. We tell them, and we're supposed to help them and to do the mitzvah because Kol Yisrael Eifim Zelazeh. It's not just a nice saying, it's not just a nice song, it's a halacha. Kol Yisrael Eifim Zelazeh halacha, that is a din of arvos. So because we have a din of arvos, that allows us to moitzi someone else. Like, for example, let's say you already yoytze kiddush. And someone else wants to hear kiddush. You can make kiddush for them. How can you make kiddush? It's a bracha vatala. You already said it. Arvos. The din of arvos, I have a chiyuv to help him out. However, when does arvos apply? Arvos only applies in a case where the person is not a baki. He doesn't know how to say kiddush. He doesn't know how to say the bracha. So then you do it for them. That's the whole Bechlal idea behind Arvus. Arvus is, what's the idea of Arvus? Let's talk about it when he's alone. If you let someone asks the loiva asks the malva, can I borrow from you $1,000? He says, what happens if you're not going to pay back? Do you have an arv? Do you have a guarantor? He says, yeah. Shimon is going to guarantee the loan. If I don't pay, I'll pay back. That's called an arv. Mm-hmm. There is something else called an arv kablan. Arv kablan is a different type of arv. Arv kablan is that he's mekabel himself the whole halva, which means that when the malva wants to collect his loan, the time comes up, he doesn't go to the one who borrowed the loan. He goes to the arev mechatchila. He goes to that. That's called the arev kabel and meloshen mekabel. He was mekabel himself the whole five. So you have nothing to do anymore with the loiva. The malva gives the loiva $1,000. The loiva doesn't owe anything to the malva. The Malvis now goes to Shimon and says, I want my $1,000 back. Shimon then will go to the Leiv and say, hey, I paid up your Leiv, now pay me back. That's out of Kab. But that's not the type of Arvus there is by mitzvahs. Every Yid has to do a mitzvah himself. So when everyone took Arvus, but not Arv, not the level Arv Kab. Regular Arvus. When you have an Arvus, the person who owes the money is supposed to pay up. He's the leiva. If you don't have, then you go to the arif.
No.
Then you go to the arif. Same thing over here. If the person doesn't know how to do the mitzvah, he doesn't know how to make kiddush, doesn't know how to make havdalah, doesn't know how to say the bracha and Sefiras. So then you could say, okay, can't do it yourself. Go to the arif. The other Yid will help me do it. It's Arvos. He's a guarantor to help that Yid do the mitzvah. So Arvos l'chatchila is in a situation where the Ariv is not able to pay back. When you can't pay back the loan, you go to the guarantor. Same thing with the game mitzvahs. First, we tell the person, if you know how to do it yourself. Why should you be yoytze, be koyach, go to the, why should Hashem, your loan of your chiyuv to do the mitzvah, be paid up by the Ariv, pay it up yourself. You don't know. You don't know how to say Kiddush. You don't know Ivra. You didn't go to yeshiva. Well, Arvas will do it for you because you don't know. It's like you don't have what to pay up. So he'll do it for you. So normally we say that Arvas is in a case when the person doesn't know. You're going on Miftzayim, they blow shofar for someone. And you say, did you hear shofar? He says, no. Okay, I'll blow for you shofar. Now what about the bracha? He doesn't know how to bracha. He didn't go to yeshiva. So you have to make the bracha for him. And by the way, that won't work in this example for, like, say, a lady. If a lady wants to hear shofar, she's not chayiv to hear shofar. She could do it, she could get a mitzvah, but she's not a mitzvah oisa, because the mitzvah says she has my gram.
If you're going to blow a shofar to a lady, she has to make the bracha.
So she's going to have to make the bracha, because you have no right to make the bracha, because you're not an arev for her, because there's no chiyuv over here. She has no chiyuv to hear shofar. So she wants to do it, okay? She could do it. Ain't a mitzvah oisa, she could do it. Even though tkiyah shofar is blowing on a kli shir is also on Shabbos and Yom Tov. However, in this case, Chazal said that for women it's an achasura for them. They want to be yoytz in the mitzvah. No matter this for the women. It doesn't mean make the bracha. She wants to hear good. She makes the bracha. She says, I don't know. You can't help her in this case because you're not an arif to her. There's no obligation for her. There's no chiv, so you're not an arvis to her. So there's no bracha. She doesn't know how to make it. You can't make it for her. But in a case where, normal case,
today we, both say from Shaf.
Yom Tov, regular Yom Tov for Shoshana.
Oh,
you go over to a man. You say, "Did you hear shofar?" He says, "No." You already heard shofar in shul.
Right.
So, what gives you a right to make a bracha for him? Blowing you can blow, but once you say Shem Hashem, a bracha v'tal. Oh, Arvos, call you Sorayim Zelzeh. You might see him the bracha if he doesn't know how. You'll say the bracha. If you come up to a lady, there's no Arvos here because she's not mechuyev in the mitzvah. She's doing it the mitzvah as an eini mitzvah v'oisim. So over here, there's a svara to say that the bracha you can't hear the yoytze the Sefiras HaOmer bracha from the shliach tzibur. Because if you know how to do it, can I listen to the thousand b'yoytze to the bracha? I hear the bracha and I go right away to hayoim shmayni yom HaOmer, and I yoytze the bracha, but I know how to say I know how to do the bracha, and usually arvos you're not supposed to rely on arvos l'chatchila upon it. L'chatchila, not to rely on arvos unless you don't know how. Over here it's different because it's 10 people together doing the mitzvah. 10 people doing it together in the mitzvah, even if the person knows how to do it, you could do it for them. That's what he's saying, the Imu Yudea. Look inside, right before 3 lines before the ending of base.
If you forgot,
Force the base.
If you forgot, you cannot continue. So if somebody make a bonus, that might.
Right? Yeah. No,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
a good question you're asking.
You will get there.
How about, what does he say here? 3 lines in the last 3 lines in Aleph. And these are the 5 keywords. Why? You're not supposed to, if you know yourself, do it by yourself. Yeah. Base.
By the way, just a quick thing. First of all, how many we pass like this?
You could. The mice people don't.
We don't.
No. You have a chance to do it yourself. Mitzvah b'yesem v'shluchi. Do it yourself.
The other good thing is where you said by Sefiras, it's a good thing because you brought it up. Isn't don't we here today, don't we hold that's notion R for you in to hear Sefiras?
If they're makabel on themselves to hear it.
Where there's not a mitzvah to say.
Yeah, but you can't say it's a chiyuv in a manner that yeah, it's not a mitzvah. Say it. They're makabel on themselves certain mitzvahs.
Mm-hmm.
Certain mitzvahs as man grama, they Noshim took it upon themselves.
When Sefiras is not one
A shayfer is. It doesn't say it in Chazal. It's later on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not mikoyach. Not mikoyach the chiyuv d'rais. It's not mikoyach d'rais.
Okay.
They are allowed to make the bracha because the einim mitzvah oisa makes a bracha.
Mm-hmm.
We paskin, not like the Rambam, but we paskin like Tosfos who holds that when you're not mechuyev in a mitzvah, you're allowed to say a bracha.
Mm-hmm.
This machlokes between Tosfos and the Rambam is reflected in the Mechaber and the Ramah.
Mm-hmm.
The Mechaber and the Ramah argue this throughout the Shulchan Aruch. The Mechaber passes on the Rambam that you shouldn't make a bracha if you're not mechuyev. And Aisha should not make a bracha on Tkir Sheva, not make a bracha when she lays Sukkah when she sits on the Sukkah.
He's going to Rambam.
The Mechaber. So the Rambam. The Ramah goes like Toys Ashkenazi. But like the Ramah, that we hold that you could make a bracha, whether it's Isha, whether it's a certain man who for some reason not mechuyev in a mitzvah and wants to do the mitzvah, you're allowed to make the bracha. How can you say Sheket Shalom and say it's Tzivanu? Tzivanu and Klal Yisrael was Tzivanu. And Klal Yisrael was Tzivanu.
What would be an example of a man that doesn't have to make it?
So in a situation, it might be potter regarding reason his situation might make him potter.
Nidus would be one.
Yeah, maybe certain situations. Let's think of a situation, but for some reason he minadin he be potter from a certain mitzvah. He can do it in mitzvah.
Okay.
The Gemara has a whole discussion whether the Gemara in Kedushin which one's greater. Tzuvah Oisa Einim Mitzvah. Einim Mitzvah he doesn't have to do it, does it. Maybe as far it's greater. The Maskan is that Mitzvah Oisa is greater. God the Mitzvah Oisa Einim Mitzvah Oisa. Because the Mitzvah Oisa has an achrayis to do it. He has a worry and achrayis responsibility, weighs on the shoulders. So there's more to the mitzvah. Einim Mitzvah Oisa, if they do it, they do it. They don't do it. So they're missing that inyan. So they don't have as much schar. So the Maisa, that's a big difference. Nafkim by the ladies, Svardish ladies, and by Ashkenazim, our women will all make brachas on the sukkah, on the lulav, on the esrig. They have a problem making brachas in Svardim. They have a problem with the ladies making brachas, based on this mechaber, based on the Rambam. Now,
you're not Ashkenazi, the women don't have to make a bracha.
In Sefiras HaOmer.
No, I'm talking about
So Sefiras HaOmer, we're going to learn right over here.
They talk about sukkah women on that.
Chayiv. And if they want to sit in the sukkah and make a leishav sukkah, we say they're allowed to. They're not passing. They're not based on Tosis.
But they don't have to. As far as they're all right.
Right. But we hold they can make a bracha.
They could if they want.
Yeah. They sit in the sukkah, eat a kazayis. They eat something which you mechuyev to sit in the sukkah. That a man would normally make a leishav sukkah on that. They are allowed to make a leishav sukkah.
But they don't have to.
No, chayiv in it. But they want the mitzvah. They're going to do it. That's what we're saying in Siv Beis. Nashim v'avadim p'turim mitzvah zu. Shemitzvah seishon azman grab. Or mixes medinis, some hanashim mitzvah zu aleim chayva. The Magen Avraham brings down that in certain countries, women took it upon themselves, like we were saying before, like the Yeshoifer, that certain women took it upon themselves as a chayva. Fe'ein chashash, isir b'meshim mevarchis aleha, av shehein petoras imenu. There's no chashash, isir, that they're making a brach, even their potter. This is the halacha that the Ramah paskins all over Shulchan Aruch. If a woman wants to wear tzitzis, make a bracha on tzitzis. So you make a bracha on it because this reason. But the Sfardim would say that you're not allowed to make a bracha. Just want to stop here for a second. Here we say it's a mitzvah seishes man gram. The Maisa, some Achreinim, they have a shaila. The Magen Avraham brings it mixes midinis. Women took it upon themselves with a chiv to say Sefiras. Some women are very makbid in Sefiras.
And I got some kids meant for that always there.
And some of the women are better than the men. So mixes Medinas, mixes Mishpachas. So the women, some of the women are very into Sefiras. Now, some of the Chayim say, what's Pshat? Samu Hanoshim Mitzvah Aleim Chayve. How could they create a chiyuv for the Nashim? You could create something which is non-existent. Shit, you do it, you do it. How does it be Samu Mitzvah Aleim Chayve? That they can make it as a chayiv of these Medinas, and those Medinas, the women all took it upon themselves, becomes a chayiv for the women. What's Pshat? Nishkin chayiv. How could they create a chiyuv?
Gemara has a word case of faith. It's neither we have
Chumra de Reb Zera.
you can find some stuff the Machal.
Yeah. B'tor, like I guess b'tor neder. It's like some things are b'tor neder. Maybe this you're right. Maybe this is because like a neder. I'll just tell you a geschmack pshat that some say like this. There is a shita that Ramban in Kiddushin, he enumerates, Gemara in Kiddushin has a whole discussion, I think it's like that, Flamid, about mitzvah say, shazman grama, she'en azman grama. The Ramban makes like a list of different mitzvah say, shazman, she'en hazman grama. And he includes Sefiras HaOmer in this list. Peladik Ramban, what's pshat? And say she'en hazman grama, Sefiras kashet hazman. The Ramban writes without any explanation, just writes a few mitzvahs as examples that say she'en hazman grama. In that few examples, he throws in Sefiras HaOmer. It's pshat. Al Kapanim, before we get to what's pshat, so some Achayim say that there's a shita that held that it's a mitzvah she'en hazman grama, so women are mechuyev in it. So the woman could say, Kim lanu, like that shita. We're taking upon ourselves that shita. It's not pshat mikoyach neder. Ban and Kedusha, I think that flamin. We are taking upon ourselves that shita. It's not that they're creating something out of nothing. No one holds. No, there is a shita that holds we're chayiv. We're saying that we're paskening, we're going with that shita. So that's how they're able to create the chiyuv. Now, the etzem inyan that the Ramban writes that Sefiras HaOmer is a mitzvah she'en hazman grama is a very big pella. What is that supposed to mean? So some want to time it like this. There is an interesting the Chochma Shleima and Shulchan Aruch is from the Shleima Kluger, the Rav and Brody, time of some Sefer. Shleima Kluger is from the Big Ga'inim. He brings out that, Kiddush Levana, women don't do Kiddush Levana. It's a mitzvah Seish Hazman Grama. There's more than that. It's not only Seish Hazman Grama, but there's an Indian that women shouldn't do a dafke. They shouldn't do it. They shouldn't be mahadar in it. That's why we don't see no women being mahadar in Kiddush Levana, because the whole miyut hayireach has to do with the chetei tzadas. The whole
Therefore,
everything came back to the everything is connected. So therefore, women don't do it. Now, the Chokmah Shleima says that for him, he understands that it's be'etzem, it's a mitzvah say she'en hazman grama Kiddush Levana. Why? Matzah, be'etzem is man grama, but we have a special limud with the chayiv. But why is matzah be'etzem is man grama? Because matzah, you have it a whole year. You can make a matzah a whole year. You can eat matzah a whole year. Certain time of the year becomes a chiyuv. So that's a sensation man grama. But we have a special limud that not shulachayim. Yes. Means that Zman grama means that I have the chayfetz. The chefs of the mitzvah is available to me a whole year. It's available to me a whole year, the chefs of the mitzvah. Elamai, the zman is goyim the chiyuv. I have the chayfetz of the mitzvah. I could do it any time of the year. Zman is goyim that the chiyuv is now. Like sukkah. I could sit in sukkah a whole year. Very good. I sit in sukkah a whole year. I could build the sukkah. Zman of Tesvav Nissen to Chaf Aleph Nissen gives us makes a zman that zman is goyim that it's a chiyuv. The rest of the year, could sit in the sukkah and the zman is it's not a chiyuv. So the zman is goyim the chiyuv. Says the Chokmah Shleima Kluger, the Kiddush Levana. It's not that way. The Levana You could only make a bracha on the levana,
Timing.
haraya levana b'chidusha. We make the bracha when the levana is chadish. Every month, the levana is mischadish. It's not pshat that it's zman grama. There is no chayfetz of a levana b'chidusha the whole month. The second half of the month, the levana is not b'chidusha anymore. The levana is adrabah, is going not mischadish, being mismayit.
Right.
So the beginning of the month, as it's going higher, the levana is b'chidusha. So I can make a bracha in it. After test of the chaydish, it's no longer b'chidusha anymore. So I don't have the chayfetz of mitzvah. So it's not pshat that the zman is goyim. The chayfetz of the mitzvah is goyim. If I'm nicht the chayfetz, give me the chayfetz, I'll make a bracha on it. So therefore he says, the Kiddush Shavon is the mitzvah say, she'ein hazman grama. Someone time there, al derech zeh has been a geir the Ramban, that the Ramban that says Sefiras HaOmer is a mitzvah say, she'ein hazman grama, big pella, what's pshat? Pshat zay. The only time that you could do Sefiras HaOmer, you have to count these days, the days from Pesach to Shavuos. I can't count 49 days in the middle of the winter. It's not gonna. It's these days. Yeah, you could count those days. You could say HaYoyim and you could count, but it's these days have something special about them. There's something unique about these days. You have to count these days. These days don't exist the whole year. So it's not pshat. It says man goyim. Yeah, it's time. It's the time of the year, so it looks funny. The time of the year. It's not the time. It's the what's the chayfetz of the mitzvah? The object of the mitzvah by Sefiras HaOmer is the yamim. I do the mitzvah these days. These days are not available a whole year. Matzah, I have it a whole year. Sukkah, I could do a whole year. What's to say Shazman Gram? Shofar, I could blow it a whole year. These days don't exist the whole year.
Yom.
So therefore, it's all chidushim. Pashas, to say Shazman Gram. I don't remember what he writes in Maskana, but I do remember him writing this, bringing the svara. Maybe he writes he doesn't understand it. Maybe he writes he doesn't understand. I don't remember exactly. Kol panim, it's just interesting to know that there is such an Ramban, and it's a big pella, and people muchazich to understand this Ramban that he counts Sefiras HaOmer amongst the mitzvahs that say she'ein hazman gram. Why? So no one else says such a thing, and it's just a big pella. What he writes, he doesn't explain himself, so it's not even quoted in any place of anything. Mitzvah zu meheges ba'aretz u'b'chutz. It's the last line of page Taf Chavav. This is a quote from the Rambam. The Rambam says that the mitzvah Sefiras HaOmer is not totally which land you're in. Eretz Yisrael, Chutz La'aretz. B'fnei Abayis, when there was a Beis HaMikdash, Shaloi b'fnei Abayis, no Beis HaMikdash. However, Yesh Shoimim, the Tosfos, the Rosh, Ran, other Rishonim say no. The Zman Hazeh she'ein Beis HaMikdash Kayim ve'ein makriven HaOmer. There's no carbon HaOmer that was brought on the second day Pesach. Ve'ein makriven ein makriven HaOmer ein zune heges klal medivrei Torah. It's not minat Torah anymore. Ela medivrei soy from shetiknu zeichel hamikdash.
But it says Fatem lachem im acharat HaShabbat. It says from the Torah, it says Fatem lachem.
Misra'at lechem yoyim hadu achem as carbon HaOmer ein kan mi'omer v'yachis ein Omer. The Rambam disagrees. The Rambam holds no. Mi'yoyim aviyachem HaOmer is from the day that you could potentially bring them.
Potentially.
Mi'yoyim, not from HaOmer, from the not you don't count from the Yoyim, you count from the Yoyim. So he says, therefore today it's still been deraisa. So there's a Das Yochid, the Rambam, there's another sheet in Rishonim, the Raviyah, Belezer ben Rabbi Yoel HaLevi, that they held that it's deraisa. There's no other sheet of the Rambam, but it's a Das Yochid. Most Rishonim disagree. Tosfos, Rosh, the Ran, other Rishonim, they all say, no, it is the Rabbanan today. The Iker halacha is like the Alter Rebbe said. It's only with the Rabbanan zeicher lemikdash. And generally, there's no difference anyways. You have to do the same way the mitzvah. There will be certain situations we'll explain why there's an afkimin if it's the Rabban or not. But in general, the surah, the nusach and the surah, way we're going to do it is going to be the same like a deraisa is. Gimel. Zman hakrava HaOmer hu betes zayin ben Nisan, the second day of Nisan, a Pesach. Shenemer machras haShabbos yilifenu. Really, the lashon of the pasuk is Shabbos. Shabbos. We don't count for machras Shabbos. We count machras Yom Tov Rishon. Shat. Kiblu chachamim shezeh hu mimachras Yom Tov Pesach. This doesn't mean Shabbos. This Shabbos means the first day of Yom Tov. The Tzedukim said no. It says clearly in the Torah this way. You know what the Rambam writes? The Rambam says, we always saw this being done this way. You can have your nice svaras this way and nice svaras that way. We always saw all the Bezdins and all the Chachamim going all the way back to all the Batei Dinim doing it this way. So we have a Messiah. Can you imagine one day the Chacham will come up and say, Abaisai, it's no longer on Shabbos anymore, and no longer Machras HaShabbos, in Machras HaYom Tov. There'd be an outcry with band of the Bezdin, there would be Kalkaidas, there would be Chaydims, there would be a lot of fun, a lot of Levidikai. So you can't just do that. We have a Messiah of the Rambam, this is the way it is. Kiblu Chachamim, that this is Yoim Arishon Shel Pesach. And the Rambam has actually many explanations and rayas and hichachas also, proofs also from different psukim. He explains that this is a hecher, this is a pshat. But he wants to make it very clear that we have a strong Messiah. We just one day suddenly it all we forgot. One year everyone had amnesia. What happened the year before? What happened suddenly? We all know what's going on all the years. Certain things we know. How did it come Rashi from Abin the Tams? How can become differences? What do you mean? We always were doing one way. Everyone's doing one way. Suddenly one day all the Seifrim got up inside something different, became Achleik. What happened? So there's different explanations. The Rebbe has some sichas on some of these things, saying how l'chatchila it wasn't kavua. In the very beginning, it wasn't kavua. There were people like this and people like that, and you could follow each way. There wasn't a clear halach that you have to do on. Once it became a psak v'maisa, that a certain shita is the ikr, you have to follow the psak halacha. Psak halacha, one way. Now, yoyim ze'atzmai masumas, but from this day itself, we start to count. It doesn't mean that from after the day that you bring the HaOmer start to count. No, from that day itself. But how do we know this? Because another pasuk it says, when the chermesh, the sickle, hits the stalk to cut the barley for the carbon HaOmer, you start to count. It means that day itself you're starting to count. When you start to cut it, you have to cut before you bring it. You can't bring afterwards. You can't bring before you have it. Now, so why do we do it by night? Start by day. And HaOmer is like all other karbanis, can only be done till Shkia. All karbanis have to be done by Yom. You can leave on the Ivarim a whole night, but the carbon has to be shechted, and the blood has to be sprinkled on the Ivarim. You put on later, but the carbon has to be brought by Yom. Shenamar tmimis tiyah. No, it says that these 7 weeks should be tmimis complete. How could they be complete if you're missing out the night? It's not full 47, 49, 24-hour periods. Well, Shamas Chalisma to start in the evening. Shamas Chalisma Yoim Arishin Galel Tazayin, the night of the 16th. As long as it's before the morning hits, before dawn, you can do it. Why should all the other nights have to be at night? First night should be at night. The Tmimis is the first night till the ending. The middle, by day, by night. Uadin Sefiras Shara Yomim She'ein ela balayla, shemin hastam svi l'kol yom mishav. This the Alter Rebbe writes explanation on his own to explain why we do it every night. That Svira, Minastam, the Seder is always the same. You don't change it. The first is the first night. Even though beside the Svar of Tmimis, complete, the Chod, it's not Negea what happens in the middle days. Negea the beginning, and till then. The Chol Halayla Kasha Svira HaOmer, it's the entire night, any time during the night. When we say Tmimis, we mean day and night. It doesn't mean they have to have 24 hours. Like I started later in the middle of the night, I missed the first hours of the night. Like right now, we're missing an hour. Starting later to Sefira. No, it's not a problem. We have night and day. Any time of the night. Shem Shachach, L'Saf Tchilas Alayla, V'Niska Koyim Shalom Shachach, Chayiv Lisper. If you forgot, you didn't count at the beginning, you can count up until dawn. So right after you have a ma'ariv, that's the mitzvah of mufta to say it right away.
Well, we said before Asher and Shachrit without bracha. Ashkenazim also say?
No. The truth is, I don't know. Chabad they don't. I don't know what other Ashkenazim. Before Baruch Shomer, maybe.
No, the end of the Daven, the Gabbai says.
They announced it.
In Bavav, they don't say before L'Shem Yichud. I don't remember.
Sfaradim, if we forgot in the evening, before Asher and Shachrit, you say it without bracha, and then you continue saying every night with bracha.
Yeah, that's the halacha, right. Very good minute. You should make a bracha. Hiderech shemevarchen akol hamitzvahs. Bein shel Torah, bein shel b'segmilo teretz terabanan. Still make a bracha on it. Avam shachar lisper b'layla lisper yoyim yisper b'loy bracha. If you forgot to count by night, you count by day. You should count without a bracha by day. Why am I counting without a bracha? Sheyesh oimrim shim loy nikser oimer b'layla. It's a machloikis mishnayis. There's different mishnayis and braises. Some hold that you could. Tanoim hold that you forgot by night. You didn't cut the oimer the night before. You cut it by day. Same thing with the svira. Svira goes connected to the cutting of the oimer. It's connected. If that sheet you're chayiv to say by day and with a bracha. Because according to those Rishonim, you're Yoitza by day. But do you have any Yoitza by day? If you weren't Koitza the Omer by night, you didn't miss out the opportunity. Koitza by day and bring it by day. However, Yishchilkan as another Mishnah argues, the Mishnah Megillah, and the Ficha Yisber B'lei Bracha says, no, if you didn't cut by night to Omer, you lost the mitzvah. Can't. So, the Ficha Yisber B'lei Bracha, therefore when you count Sfira by day, can't make a bracha. But we're not yet talking now about continuing the other nights of the bracha. We're just talking about just that day. When you're saying it by day, you can't make a bracha mikoyach this machlekes. Because we have a suffix brachas, whatever the suffix brachas lahakol, we have a suffix machlekes to make a bracha, not bracha by day.
What cutting are we talking about?
They were cutting the barley, the saidim, for the carbon oimer that was brought the second day Pesach.
What happened already? The cutting?
The cutting happened the night before. And that day they would bring it. They would cut it at night. And the morning they would prepare it and bring it as a carbon. So and it says the Torah says that the Sefiras HaOmer should be that day that you cut, you should start to count. So the Sefira is connected to the Ksira. So if the Ksira can be pushed off today, so the Sefira can be pushed off today. We hold it can be pushed off today, then you lost its hands to Sefira, so it's a suffix in the bracha. In the Sefira, suffix in the bracha, we don't make a bracha. Now let a Sefira tzarech levarech ma'omer, you should make a bracha standing, shema bakama. The Torah says bakama. Bakama means stalk. Darshu chachamim al tikra bakama ela bakoima. You should stand, tacha lisper bakoima. Stand. Well, Chazal wanted in a few mitzvahs you should stand. By a number of mitzvahs you should stand, and those are all based on from Sfar to Lochem. It says Lochem over here, And it says through a year lachem, and in different places it says lachem, that Chazal says you should stand when you do the mitzvah. If you did sit when you were counting, yatsa, it's just an asmachta, a leaning on the pasuk. It's not minash Torah.
There's actually a halacha someplace where you lose out the mitzvah if you don't stand.
It's a good question. If it would be required minat Torah, so I don't know. The question is it's hard to imagine one, but maybe there is. I don't know what's the din by like bikurim or by chalitza. I mean, there are certain din, maybe because kohenim, but a kohen has to stand.
You take it.
Right, but the kohen himself, shaylas if it's ma'akiv, when we have to take a look in different mitzvahs, the kohen is avoiding the mikdash. Certain things that have to be done by midah. It could be shiva, could be an at yoytz. I can't think of an example offhand. But you're right. It's masha from here that if it's minatoy, obviously if the amida will be minatoy, there will be. Is there such a case? The question is there a case where the amida is an integral part of the mitzvah, and if you didn't do the amida, yeah. Over here it's a drash. You have a million?
Missing one.
One more.
Almost.
So one more halacha. Sifhei. Minat Torah tzarich limnis hayomim v'gam hashvuos. You count side days and side weeks. Shema tisper chamishim yom. Count days. Kiloimer ad chamishim doesn't mean count the 50th itself. It means ad chamishim. Vayim also says in another pasuk shiva shavuos is belach. You should count weeks also. How do you do them? Ketzad yisper shneim. Shemagiel shiva yomim yomer hayoyim shiva yomim shehem shvua echad. Shemagiel yomer ba'asa yom hayom ba'asa shem shnei shavuos. They also came to according to the Shita, you don't have to mention Shua every day. We mention Shua every day. We say Yom Shemini Yamim, V'Shavu Echad, V'Yom Echad. Shehem Shavu, right. Now, but Ben HaTorah, the Shita says over here that no, you during the week you count days. When you finish a week, you got a week, you count a week. Now I have a week. You count the Hayom Shavua. After 2 weeks, count Hayoim Shnei Shavuos. Then you could say Hayoim. You count days every single day. Weeks you only do 7 times, only by the ending of the weeks. If you didn't do that, you're not Yotzim Minat Torah. That you're not Yotzim Minat Torah because you're missing out Shavuos. If you didn't count the ending of the weeks, you didn't say Hayoim Shavua Echad, the ending of the weeks.
This is Shmona. You just say today's number.
Let's say, let's say in the 7th day,
right, yeah.
You said Hayoim Shiva Yamim. You didn't say Yom Shavuot. V'Shavuot Echad. Shiva Shavuos Tisbalach. You didn't do Shavuos. You count Shavuos. You count the Yamim.
Yeah.
But this Shita says that you missed out. You missed out on weeks. So we're going to see. There's a whole machlokes. I don't want to get into it because it's complicated. We have to go to Meir. See in Sivav next week, there's 3 machlokes. How you have to combine Yamim and Shavuos together. How do we combine them? In which manner? Every day, ending, how do we exactly do it? Some say that, no, the ending of the weeks, you don't have to say days, just say the weeks. And some say every day you do both, like we do. So
the way we do it, we combine everything.
Right, we combine every single day, we mention both.
Right.
It's not so pashut. That's the meaning that we do, but it's other shittas don't hold you have to do that. Others say that no, you always count weeks, meaning let's say during the first week you can only count days. You know how many weeks? But after 1 week, you can say Hayoim. You say Hayoim Shavu Echad V'Yem. You don't say any more days. Now, what are my days? I count the extra days after the week. Hayoim Shavu Echad V'Yem Echad. Count days, weeks, and days. So how is it sort of the mitzvah? The 3-way machlokes are showing them, and the showing them how you have to set up this. How is this mitzvah set up?
But the mitzvah world counting.
We do it, but someone makes a mistake, and it says over here the minig spasha b'chol tvutzas Yisrael. The Rishonim already bring that the minig is all over, as that we do everything.
And everyone agrees.
But l'maisa, if you
every single place, you go to the entire world. Yeah, everyone agrees on this.
we have over here everyone.
Wow.
Where's Rabbi Azar? We can have Rabbi Sfardi, and we can have. Anyone does anything different here in the room? Do we have any yakas here? We have no Chassidish representatives.
Yankees women don't.
Wait, so that means everyone agrees on this?
They dafka don't
The
bench.
Yankee women don't bench.
They dafka don't.
No, not
Okay, they
this,
keep their minhagim. They don't
not
want
this
to
and
change the
not this. Okay.
That means everyone finds all agrees on this? One thing?
minhagim.
Oh, wow.
The lashon is chenespasha mini b'chol tfusas
I
Yisrael.
was a man because I had to know.
That everyone does days and weeks
Oh,
every
you
day,
do both.
every day.
As far
That's
as
the right.
I
It's
know,
one of the things that we do everywhere.
Yeah.
L'chora. That's what it says here, but we have to find out if there's any difference anywhere else.
I mean, I've done. I mean, Roger Exceeders also. You say Exceeders also.
Yeah, I'm saying you have to go through all the chassidus. It's probably.
I've done by.
Yeah, we've been all around. I've never heard anyone doing it different. The question is, like, if certain kihillas that we're not so in tune with, Moroccan community, community from Tunis,
Well, but all this is doing
Huh?
the same.
Yemenite, like, I don't know, yeah,
All this is doing, we say the same.
maybe you could, you can take out a shul that has all the siddurim, like, on the left.
And it's a big mitzvah that we're all doing. And we're all agreeing on
Yeah,
it.
well, then, one thing we're having after,
The whole concept of Patater is that
Huh? Halachos, Baruch Hashem.
will be
We agree upon one thing, huh?
HaOmer and HaOmer.
Ah.
Russian to it.
Must.
By the way, even those that say HaOmer instead of with a base, let's say like in Chabad say with a lamet, we still say lag HaOmer.
Ah,
Lag
Why
HaOmer.
only like
The Rebbe one time spoke about it
Yeah.
once. It's the
Lumdus?
we don't know here, Sicha, yes.
Siddush Pshat, like a Pikabala, why we
The
say
name of a day, and it's not really what you're counting. It's on.
Yes.
I can't option by a five.
The Rebbe one time he said in a Sikha once a Pshat, like Siddush Pshat, on it, like a Torah, but he wrote to Rabbi Zevin, Allah Hashem, asked him from the editor of the Encyclopedia Talmudis, he wrote to the Rebbe asking the Rebbe about this, why we say like Boimer, we don't say. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I recall the Rebbe answered him that he thinks that it's Pasha because it was just Shigur Delishin, because remember, Sidon, a Pi Kabbalah is the thing to say with a Lamed. Sidon changed from Minig Ashkenaz and went over to follow things that the Sidon Arizal, Pi Kabbalah. But they still were used to saying Lag Baimer a certain day in the calendar, they would call Lag Baimer. So it's Lag Baimer is not, it's not a mitzvah, you're not counting that way, it's just the way you say it in the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
So that remains. But the mitzvah, the nusach and the mitzvah changed. The Kabbalah say Lamed, but the nusach, you call the day, you say Lag Baimer. But by the way, you have to be very careful when it comes to Lag Baimer, not to say when you're that night and say, oh, today's Lag Baimer, that's Lag Baimer, then you're gonna have an issue with you're gonna have an issue. Depending how you say it, we'll learn about it in Mitzvah Shem, but depending how you say it, get you some of the problems. Mazel tov, mazel tov. We live next door to the Emmer family in Crown Heights.
Oh.
So they were telling me all about how they're connected to your family. Okay, we have a